The murder calls home his three. The murdered calls home. The murder? Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of Unnatural Ends by Christopher Huang. This is a book that comes out on July 5th, 2022. It's a mystery historical fiction from Inkshares, which I've got the explanation from another book that I read from Inkshares, which is a reader-driven publisher and producer based in Oakland, California. Our books are selected not by a group of editors, but by readers worldwide. I don't really know how that works. But I read this book, what was it called again? The Phantom Forest, from them, and I really liked it, which is why I requested this book from NetGalley in exchange for a fair review. Snuck that in there, because it sounded really cool, and I liked that book. So Unnatural Ends is as much a murder mystery as a 1920s period piece. It's an interesting look at family, identity, and betrayal. So what is it about? Sir Lawrence Linwood is dead. More accurately, he was murdered, savagely beaten to death in his own study with a medieval mace. The murder calls home his three adopted children, Alan, an archaeologist, Roger, an engineer, and Caroline, a journalist. But his heirs soon find that his last testament contains a strange proviso, that his estate shall go to the heir who solves his murder. To secure their future, each Linwood heir must now dig deep into the past. As their suspicion mounts of each other and of peculiar strangers in the churchless town of Linwood Hollow, they come to suspect that the perpetrator lurks in the mysterious origins of their own birth. Their placenta did it. Anyway, this novel has a lot of great things going for it. The first is the point of view. It's third-person limited, but follows three characters, the siblings primarily, but with a few chapters following a few other characters. This really broadened the mystery aspect because you were able to see different threads of the story from different angles. It was fun to see the revelations one person discovered line up with the other deciphered by a different sibling. I also like third person more than first. A great deal of this novel also focuses on identity. The siblings, as you find out from the first page, are all adopted and have no idea who their parents are or what their ancestry even is. As such, part of the mystery turns into not just who murdered the father, but who their parents were. I really loved how diverse the cast was. Normally, books written in this time period and in this setting in England have everyone being white, which just wasn't true at the time. But while race and culture is a small aspect of the mystery in relation to the parentage of the siblings, it's not a book about race. It's normalized and quite refreshing for a book set in the 20s. Normally when I read books actually written in the 20s, I have to suffer through stereotypes if there are any people of color even. So it was great to read a book that felt like it was written in the 20s, but without the problematic elements of the time period, and obviously a bit more focus on stuff that they didn't really talk about back then, like sexuality, things like that. The writing is lovely. It's drawn out yet purposeful, full of strong descriptions and good dialogue. There wasn't any humor, romance, or action, but it's easy to read while retaining an old world feel. Unfortunately, the characters were where the novel fell a little bit flat for me. They were likable enough, but I didn't love any of them. They were consistent, but I never latched onto any of them as a favorite character, and none were overly memorable. I kept calling Caroline Carolyn. This could be because their father, despite being dead, was such an overbearing presence due to flashbacks and their conversations about him. I think I also felt like they were a little flat because while they suffer quite horribly in their lives, we soon discover, none of them seemed worse for wear psychologically. They all have memories, but none of them really wrestle with them. The memories just kind of are there to show us kind of what happened in the past, but no one seems to have any kind of trauma from them. I'm not saying you have to have some kind of PTSD when you experience trauma. It just seems like none of them, despite it being quite horrible, have any kind of negative repercussions socially or emotionally from this. Though it's possibly just because there's three of them and we're also dealing with the mystery and there's other characters, there just wasn't space for that. In truth, though, it was the setting that kept me reading. I love old houses in the countryside in this time period. I really like the movies Gosford Park, which I believe is set then. Or is that one? Whatever, I think it is. And then there's also that one with Jessica Biel's. What is it called? Anyway, I'll put it up there because I'll figure out what it's called. That one's fantastic. Anyway, I just love the interim war period in general, so I love the attention to detail that this book brings to that. It's evident this is a well-researched book, and the author was very thorough. The focus on the aftermath of World War I, the gradual ousting of the rich landed gentry from their manors. Check out Ishiguro's The Remains of the Day if you want something else about that. The technological boom that always follows war, and social changes. It felt authentic, and I very much enjoyed that aspect of it. Now, I will say the end result of the mystery is not very surprising, at least to me. While it's not like I figured it out right away, there are hints pretty much on the first page as to the mystery solution, so what did happen was always in the back of my mind as the most plausible option. I couldn't figure out how to get there given the information I knew, because obviously we don't have all the information at the start, which is why it's a mystery. So it was still an enjoyable mystery to see come together, but my reaction was more like, nailed it, than, oh, cool. But figuring out plot twists early is my mutant power. Like Rogue in 2000's X-Men movies, my power is more like a curse. You can't imagine how many times I'm watching a movie and I go to my husband and I'm like, oh, well, so-and-so did it. And he's like, it's like the first 5 minutes. I'm like, no, that's probably what happened. Anyway, if you love the 1920s and you love mysteries, if you love historical fiction, if you like stories about siblings, then you will enjoy this book. It's quite good.